So it's not chapter 1, basically it's chapter 4. Mind strategies for avoiding the now. Loss of now, the core delusion. Even if I completely accept that ultimately time is an illusion, what difference is that going to make in my life? I still have to live in a world that is completely dominated by time. Intellectual agreement is just another belief and won't make much difference to your life. To realize this truth, you need to live it. When every cell of your body is so present that it feels vibrant with life, and when you can feel that life every moment as the joy of being, then it can be said that you are free of time. But I still have to pay the bills tomorrow, and I am still going to grow old and die just like everybody else. So how can I ever say that I am free of time? Tomorrow's bills are not the problem. The dissolution of the physical body is not a problem. Loss of now is the problem, or rather, the core delusion that turns a mere situation, event, or emotion into a personal problem and into suffering. Loss of now is loss of being. To be free of time is to be free of the psychological need of past for your identity and future for your fulfillment. It represents the most profound transformation of consciousness that you can imagine. In some rare cases, this shift is consciousness happens dramatically and radically once and for all. And when it does, it usually comes about through total surrender in the midst of intense suffering. Most people, however, have to work at it. When you have had your first few glimpses of the timeless state of consciousness, you begin to move back and forth between the dimensions of time and presence. First, you become aware of just how rarely your attention is truly in the now. But to know that you are not present is a great success. That knowing is presence. Even if initially it only lasts for a couple of seconds of talk time before it is lost again. Then, with increasing frequency, you choose to have the focus of your consciousness in the present moment rather than in the past or future. And whenever you realize that you had lost the now, you are able to stay in it not just for a couple of seconds, but for longer periods as perceived from the external perspective of talk time. So before you are firmly established in the state of presence, which is to say, before you are fully conscious, you shift back and forth for a while between consciousness and unconsciousness, between the state of presence and the state of mind identification. You lose the now and you return to it again and again. Eventually, presence becomes your predominant state. For most people, presence is experienced either never at all or only accidentally and briefly on rare occasions without being recognized for what it is. Most humans alternate not between consciousness and unconsciousness, but only between different levels of unconsciousness. So, whenever we get that momentary experience of being in the now, being free of the mind, free of the association of the fact or of this new realization that you are actually not your mind, and there are two separate identities. So initially जो है वो momentary glimpses में आएगा, seconds में आएगा. When we talked about the uh, breathing techniques, so when you inhale and you're not inhaling anymore and you have not started the exhalation, there is a point. It's called point A. And when you exhale, so all that breath which was inside is now out, but you have not started to inhale your next breath. And you're conscious about it. That is point B. So life is constantly happening from point A to point B. And at those points where there is no inhalation or no exhalation, point A as well as point B are the points of no mind, where there is no mind. तो वो पहले सेकंड्स में होता है, थोड़ा आपको उसमें काम करना पड़ता है, but धीरे 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 once you realize and once you start resonating well with this presence and this complete calmness and complete peace of mind at that momentarily glimpse, slowly the duration, the frequency starts to get increases, where you are actually experiencing the true connection with the source at the soul level, not just at the level of this body or of this mind, but that connection of with the source is actually a connection at the level of the soul. But ये है कि उसमें थोड़ी सी प्रैक्टिस होती है. You have to be very clear, because the mind will play a lot of games, no doubt about it. That lanky fellow is famous for it. Ordinary unconsciousness and deep unconsciousness. What do you mean by different levels of unconsciousness? As you probably know, in sleep, you constantly move between the phases of dreamless sleep and the dream state. Similarly, in wakefulness, most people only shift between ordinary unconsciousness and deep unconsciousness. What I call ordinary unconsciousness means being identified with your thought processes and emotions, your reactions, desires, and aversions. It is most people's normal state. In that state, you are run by the egoic mind and are unaware of the being. It is a state not of acute pain or unhappiness, but of an almost continuous low level of unease, discontent, boredom, or nervousness, a kind of background static. You may not realize this because it is so much a part of normal living, just as you are not aware of the continuous low background noise, such as the hum of an air conditioner, until it stops. When it suddenly does stop, there is a sense of release. Many people use alcohol, drugs, sex, food, work, television, or even shopping as anesthetics in an unconscious attempt to remove the basic unease. When this happens, an activity that might be very enjoyable, if used in moderation, becomes imbued with a compulsive or addictive quality. And all that is ever achieved through it is extremely short-lived symptom. The unease of ordinary unconsciousness turns into the pain of deep unconsciousness, a state of more acute and more obvious suffering or unhappiness when things go wrong, when the ego is threatened, or there is a major challenge, threat, or loss, real or imagined, in your life situation or conflict in relation. It is intensified version of ordinary unconsciousness, different from it, not in kind, but in degree. In ordinary unconsciousness, habitual resistance to or denial of what is creates the unease and discontent that most people accept as normal living. When this resistance becomes intensified through some challenge or threat to the ego, it brings up intense negativity such as anger, acute fear, aggression, depression, and so on. Deep unconsciousness often means that the pain body has been triggered and that you have become identified with it. Physical violence would be impossible without deep unconsciousness. It can also occur easily whenever and wherever a crowd of people or even an entire nation generates a negative collective energy field. So, there are two types of unconsciousness. One is the ordinary unconsciousness, which is the usual state we are generally in. And then there is deep unconsciousness कि हमें पता ही नहीं है कि हम कितने ज़्यादा unconscious हैं. When it's the body has, the mind has taken over the body. See, in this whole journey, where it starts and where it wants to go, it's more of like a maze where you have to actually find out and connect with who you truly are. जो ये लोगों का कहीं सवाल होता है ना, मैं कौन हूँ, who am I? You have Muji, you have Ramana Maharishi, you have Papaji, so many people who have, uh, have done so much of beautiful work, are doing a lot of this work. Their whole concept of the fact, who am I, is the basic question जिसके पीछे ये लोग जा रहे हैं या लोगों को लेके जा रहे हैं, is to find that answer. कि मैं हूं कौन, who am I? Because of our programming, because of our upbringing, belief patterns, part of whatever has been our upbringing, we have identified this physical body and this mind as us. If somebody asks you a normal question, who is, and addresses your name, what do we get? Me. स्कूल में अटेंडेंस होती थी, अर्जुन सोनी प्रेजेंट मैम. क्या है वो एसोसिएशन? वो बॉडी की एसोसिएशन थी, उसकी बॉडी है. सो यू नो इट्स इंटरेस्टिंग, अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल use this word that in this lifetime this physical body is being represented by the name, whatever your name is. मतलब वो ये नहीं बोलते कि मैं ये हूं. This physical body is being represented in this lifetime as whatever your name is. For me, if I say, I refer to as Arjun Soni. So the whole crux is to actually discover your true self. Who are you? मैं हूं कौन? Who am I? So जब हमने पहले माइंड से आइडेंटिफिकेशन दिया कि ये तो मेरा माइंड है, मैं तो मेरा माइंड हूं, वहां माइंड में जनाब जी चौड़े हो गए, ईगो साथ ले आए. देख यार, हम तो वी आर द bonds of the time. I mean, everything is going as per us. So that is a wrong identification which we have done due to a part of our programming. So जब हमने ये माइंड को बोलना शुरू किया या ये नई रियलाइजेशन हमारे अंदर आनी शुरू हुई, we are not this mind, and धीरे धीरे then we came to this fact that we are not this body also. So this is basically a law of elimination. And law of elimination और law of negation, कि जो मैं नहीं हूं पहले उसको आइडेंटिफाई करो, बिकॉज वो वहां पे एक रॉन्ग आइडेंटिफिकेशन ऑलरेडी चल रही है. सी बिकॉज आज मैं जो हूं वो मेरी एक एसोसिएशन बनी हुई है, दैट आई एम दिस माइंड एंड आई एम दिस बॉडी, which I am not. That is not my true self. My mind is different, I can listen to it. And this body is different. But who am I then? What is that realization? So when we follow the law, follow this law of elimination. So we are eliminating all the things that we have associated with who we are in this journey, in this lifetime, or in this journey on the school of earth, हम वो eliminate कर रहे हैं one by one. भैया ये mind मैं नहीं हूँ, मैं तो उसको सुन सकता हूँ. ये body भी मैं नहीं हूँ, ये भी मुझे दी गई है to experience something. Then that question comes, who am I? So firstly, we are following this law of elimination, wherein we want to negate everything जिसके साथ हमने wrong association बना दिए हैं, so that we don't get back to that. That's the challenge. That's the key. होता क्या है, अगर हम सीधा ये चीज समझने शुरू कर दें कि मैं who am I, and just get to that, because everybody would be knowing that answer. It's, I mean, if you read it, who am I, you will get that answer. But then there is nothing in those words unless or until I give it that power, or unless or until you give it that power. And this you needs to be clear that this you is not referring to the mind, and this you is not referring to the body. And then the more you start accepting this fact, or more you are in this law of elimination, eliminating जो wrong हमने associations बना दिए हैं due to our programming, that is where you start getting close to your true self. That is where you start getting closer to that divine connection with the source, to that divine state of oneness, or the isness, which is present in the now. This whole journey is to actually remove or eliminate जो हमारे wrong connections बने हुए हैं as to who we really are, or who is our true self. And then once the road is clear, ये भी eliminate हो गया, ये भी नहीं हूं मैं, ये भी नहीं हूं, ये भी नहीं हूं, then you will actually and it's a journey inside. Then inside you will discover who you truly are, and there you will actually discover what is the actual connection with that source, with that oneness. The best indicator of your level.
Arjun, just a personal question. How far do you think you are in that journey?
There is no thermometer.
Huh?
I said there is no thermometer in this journey. You can't determine.
No, according to your own self, how far do you think you are on a course?
I know I am on the right track. That's all I know right now, honestly speaking.
But have you been able to do some elimination?
It's a constant practice, Thabar. It's a constant practice, a constant reminder. Actually speaking, it's a constant reminder and a constant practice all the time. And
of course,
it's not the, this is it, the momentary है. अभी हमारे पास seconds के लिए आ रहा है या maximum minutes के लिए आ रहा होगा. धीरे 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 धीरे, when your entire state of being is in that oneness, that's bliss. A lot of practice, because होता क्या है, see, as I said, I shared a few examples. I'll share a few more also from my day-to-day or from everybody's life. You get caught up in those emotions. You get swayed away. Because होता क्या है, momentary आप consciously जा रहे हो, so अभी हमारे को वो practice नहीं है कि हम 24 घंटे conscious रह सके. For example, if I am listening to an audio book or an audio tape or audio lesson, and if that audio lesson for 30 minutes, I think 10-15 मिनट तक तो concentration बन गई होगी, पर 10-15 मिनट ऐसे होते हैं जो आप उसी वीडियो को अगर 2 दिन बाद सुनो ना, यार ये तो मैंने परसों सुना था, ये कहाँ से आ गया, उस टाइम तो मैंने सुना ही नहीं है. So that's the beauty of it. But yeah, it's just practice.
We'll discuss it over a couple of unconscious drinks next time.
Then that again drinking and all, ye jo log, bahut sadhus and all, they take those weeds and all. They are actually, if you take it in limits, and they do it, all these sadhus and all, they take it in limits just to get more connected with themselves, because you are in that state of focused connection. Like you have these weeds and everything na? For example, आप भंग लेते हो तो आप एक थॉट को ही पकड़ के बैठ जाते हो. So if you have that, and you have this constant chatter, see, it's like the whole day you have been listening to this song, okay, some new song, and आपने कम से कम नहीं तो उसको पूरे दिन में 15-20 बार सुन लिया, because it resonated at one point, okay, and then you sleep, and the next day when you get up, probably you are murmuring the song in the morning. So that is why they say he always have good sounds around you, so that you are in that atmosphere and in that arena of that vibrational frequency, so that वो सारा time आपके साथ चलता रहे. Don't you see a lot of these sardars, they have in their offices, all the time Shabad Bani going on and on and on. वो क्या है? They want to be in that. For an example, take a room in your house, and just for 24 hours, वहां पे कोई भी जाप, ओम नमः शिवाय, any whatever resonates with you, 24 hours वहां लगा दे, बंद कर दे पहले, और वहां एक लाइट का सोर्स कर दे. मतलब इन द सेंस there has to be light. So everything is about going towards the light. So just put a nice candle there, which can be there for 24 hours, and just put this sound. Walk into the room after 24 hours, you'll feel the difference in the vibrational frequency. That's the importance of sound. So ये सारी चीजें जो है, ये they are getting you basically to raise the level of your consciousness. And
Thanks.
this is a realization of what actually is. ये नहीं है कि हम किसी चीज को ढूंढ रहे हैं बाहर, ये ऑलरेडी हमारे अंदर है, बट उसके ऊपर अनियन के ऊपर वो जो जैसे कहते हैं ना, वो सीड के ऊपर लेयर्स लगी हुई है, हम तो लेयर्स निकाल रहे हैं. वी आर नॉट योर माइंड, एलिमिनेटेड. चल, वी आर नॉट योर बॉडी, एलिमिनेटेड. बट वो एक सीड थोड़ा होगा, उस एक सीड ने 40 साल में कितने ब्रांचेस खड़े कर दिए. So कहीं ना कहीं तो वो रेजोनेशन रह रही है. So again, that's why we do this daily exercise, and we do this daily practice of getting it into our awareness and realization, and into each and every cell of our body, that we are not our mind. Because वो 40 साल का connection या whatever your age is very strong. The best indicator of your level of consciousness is how you deal with life's challenges when they come. Through those challenges, an already unconscious person tends to become more deeply unconscious, and a conscious person more intensely conscious. You can use a challenge to awaken you, or you can allow it to pull you into even deeper sleep. The dream of ordinary unconsciousness then turns into a nightmare. If you cannot be present even in normal circumstances, just as when you are sitting alone in a room, walking in the woods, or listening to someone, then you certainly won't be able to stay conscious when something goes wrong, or you are faced with difficult people or situations with loss or the threat of loss. You will be taken over by a reaction which ultimately is always some form of fear, and pulled into deep unconsciousness. Those challenges are your tests. Only the way in which you deal with them will show you and others where you are at as far as your state of consciousness is concerned. Not how long you can sit with your eyes closed or what visions you see. I hope, Thapar, your question has been answered.
Man, this is, I can't tell you how deep I went in these lines. Oh,
You raised a question, it was there, meant for you.
unbelievable.
That's the right one.
Unbelievable. I just went into the book right now. I was having visions. Oh,
Right.
God.
That's what I say. This actually answered you of what your actual question was.
Absolutely, absolutely right.
So it is essential to bring more consciousness into your life in ordinary situations when everything is going relatively smoothly. In this way, you grow in presence power. It generates an energy field in you and around you of a high vibrational frequency. No unconsciousness, no negativity, no discord or violence can enter that field and survive, just as darkness cannot survive in the presence of light. When you learn to be the witness of your thoughts and emotions, which is an essential part of being present, you may be surprised when you first became aware of the background static of ordinary unconsciousness and realize how rarely, if ever, you are truly at ease within yourself. On the level of your thinking, you will find a great deal of resistance in the form of judgment, discontent, and mental projection away from the now. On the emotional level, there will be undercurrent of unease, tension, boredom, or nervousness. Both are aspects of the mind in its habitual resistance mode. So being in the now, being consciously aware of where you are in this, journey of spiritual awakening or raising your, going to the higher realms of consciousness, mind has to be dropped completely, because नहीं तो वो हमें, because उसका काम ही ये है, it will not let you gather that attention or that awareness in the now, because it has to associate with something. So it has to, it has to follow the protocol of his jack. उसको जज भी करना है, उसको एक्सपेक्ट भी करना है, उसको कंपेयर भी करना है, उसको क्रिटिसाइज भी करना है, तभी उसको मजा आएगा. बट जब आप वो जैक को, जैक इज एन एसोसिएशन ऑफ द माइंड, तो जब आप उसने आपने जैक को खत्म किया, सो that is where you become aware that this is the mind that is at play, this is not me. So being consciously aware whenever you are faced with a few situations in your day-to-day life, you need to be very, very conscious, and yes, have this at the back of your mind. Where am I on the jack? Is it in all four? जजमेंट भी है, एक्सपेक्टेशन भी है, क्रिटिसिज्म भी है, कंपैरिजन भी है, कि खाली एक या दो ही है? दैट विल गेट यू मोर पावर ऑन द माइंड, or more stillness or the calmness in the mind in your day to day. So जब भी कोई ऐसी सिचुएशन आपके साथ आ रही है, it's nothing but your test, and they will continue to happen. They will continue to happen. You need to be consciously aware कि मैं जैक में तो नहीं फंसा हुआ. अगर मैं जैक में फंसा हुआ हूं, स्ट्रॉन्ग इंडिकेशन मैं माइंड में फंसा हूं, बिकॉज जैक माइंड से ही आएगा. What are they seeking? Carl Jung tells in one of his books of a conversation he had with a Native American chief who pointed out to him that in his perception, most white people have tense faces, staring eyes, and a cruel demeanor. He said, they are always seeking something. What are they seeking? The whites always want something. They are always uneasy and restless. We don't know what they want. We think they are mad. The undercurrent of constant unease started long before the rise of Western industrial civilization, of course, but in Western civilization, which now covers almost the entire globe, including most of the East, it manifests in an unprecedentedly acute form. It was already there at the time of Jesus, and it was there 600 years before that at the time of Buddha, long before that. Why are you always anxious? Jesus asked his disciples. Can anxious thoughts add a single day to your life? And the Buddha taught that the root of suffering is to be found in our constant wanting and craving. Resistance to the now as a collective dysfunction is intrinsically connected to loss of awareness of being and forms the basis of our dehumanized industrial civilization. I would like to repeat this line. Resistance to the now as a collective dysfunction is intrinsically connected to the loss of awareness of being and forms the basis of our dehumanized industrial civilization. Freud, by the way, also recognized the existence of this undercurrent of unease and wrote about it in his book Civilization and Its Discontents. But he did not realize the true root of the unease and failed to realize that freedom from it is possible. This collective dysfunction has created a very unhappy and extraordinary violent civilization that has become a threat not only to itself but also to all life on the planet. So, the reasons or the outcomes and your associations with the outcomes and your constant anxiety, or being constantly anxious about whatever is there in your future, is not going to result in anything. The only thing it is going to result in you actually manifesting that. So because whatever you think and give it energy, that is your true manifestation at play. सो अगर मैं एक फ्यूचर इवेंट को एंक्शसली थॉट्स दे रहा हूँ और उस थॉट्स को मैं बार बार एनर्जी दे रहा हूँ और बीइंग इन दैट एंक्शस स्टेट, व्हाट इज द रिजल्ट? यू आर मैनिफेस्टिंग इट. वो तो होएगा, क्यों नहीं होगा? बट क्या हमारा उस थॉट को सोचने से या उसको एनर्जी देने से कुछ हो जाएगा? आई ऑलवेज I used to use this line a lot before I came into all this also. To anybody who used to come to me, sir, बड़ी टेंशन हो रही, बड़ी टेंशन. मैं कहा तेरी टेंशन लेने से प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व हो रही है तो मैं भी साथ में ले लेता हूँ. A lot of people will come, बॉडी कैसे करना है फैक्ट्री में, क्या करेंगे क्या करेंगे क्या करेंगे. मैं कहा यार सोल्यूशन ढूंढना पड़ेगा. Because unless or until we do not concentrate on the solution, the problem will still be there. Na? If you just talk about the problem, you are giving more energy to the problem. It's not going to solve on its own. But if you start giving your energies to the solution part of the problem, that is where you will move from that state to a solution based state. प्रॉब्लम को एनर्जी दोगे तो प्रॉब्लम बढ़ेगी, सोल्यूशन की तरफ एनर्जी अपनी शिफ्ट करोगे तो सोल्यूशन आएंगे. अगर एंग्शियस स्टेट की तरफ आप उसको एनर्जी दोगे तो एंजाइटी और बढ़ेगी. बट अगर इन द नाउ रह के विद being consciously aware कि it's a future event, it's a false evidence appearing to be real, हमें कोई डर की बात नहीं है, फ्यूचर में है, प्रोबेबिलिटी है, 50-50 है, हो भी सकता नहीं भी हो सकता. अगर हो भी जाएगा तो we have these options and we can be secure ourselves. Then that's a solution mentality, na? So you need to be very, very clear with you first, whether you want to have a problem or an anxious mentality, or you want to have a solution based or a happy go being mentality. Similarly, in your offices, in your workspaces, you need to impart it very clearly. Are we here to talk about just problems, or are we here to seek solutions? So जहां पे हम अपनी energies direct करेंगे, वहीं पे आपको रिजल्ट मिलेंगे। अगर हम प्रॉब्लम्स में एनर्जी डालेंगे तो प्रॉब्लम्स और आएंगी, और अगर हम सॉल्यूशंस की तरफ अपनी एनर्जी को डाइवर्ट करेंगे, या कॉमन एनर्जी में सॉल्यूशंस की तरफ हम उसको डायरेक्ट करेंगे, तो सॉल्यूशंस आएंगे। Dissolving ordinary unconsciousness. So how can we be free of this affliction? Make it conscious. Observe the many ways in which unease, discontent, and tension arise within you through unnecessary judgment, resistance to what is, and denial of the now. Anything unconscious dissolves when you shine the light of consciousness on it. Once you know how to dissolve ordinary unconsciousness, the light of your presence will shine brightly, and it will be much easier to deal with deep unconsciousness whenever you feel its gravitational pull. However, ordinary unconsciousness may not be easy to detect initially because it is so normal. Make it a habit to monitor your mental emotional state through self observation. Am I at ease at this moment? Is a good question to ask yourself frequently. Or you can ask, what's going on inside me at this moment? Be at least as interested in what goes inside you as what happens outside. If you get the inside right, the outside will fall into its place. Primary reality is within, secondary reality without. But don't answer these questions immediately. Direct your attention inward. Have a look inside yourself. What kind of thoughts is your mind producing? What do you feel? Direct your attention into the body. Is there any tension? Once you detect that there is a low level of unease, the background static, see in what way you are avoiding, resisting, or denying life by denying the now. There are many ways in which people unconsciously resist the present moment. I will give you a few examples. With practice, your power of self observation, of monitoring your inner state, will become sharpened.